Okay, welcome back. This is part 3 of the 3-video series that I'm doing on rotations in volleyball. So last video we looked at the rules of being in rotation, and pretty much what we concluded was that we only look at the people to the left and the right, so either, in other words, the people one rotation in front or one rotation behind. So in this case, one rotation in front would be position 1 relative to position 2, and the rotation behind would be position 3. Okay, so we're only concerned with these two players, and we don't care about position 6 and position 4. Okay, so as long as position 2 here is in between 1 and 3, then we're all good, and we check that to see that the same position is opposite in the opposite row. So again, if this was the pass hitter, then position 5 would also have to be the pass hitter. Okay, if position 2 was a middle, then position 5 would have to be a middle. Okay, so that was the general gist of what we did last time, and we looked at, an example here where we've got the setter here in position 6, and we saw that how they are in rotation because they're in between position 5 and position 1, so the middle and the pass hitter. Okay, and that's all we care about. So we're looking at the setter here in position 6. The only people we care about is who is in position 1 and 5, so the people to the left and the right. Okay, so we don't even need to worry about the middle here, the other middle. Or the opposite here as well. Okay, so it's just as long as the setter is in between the middle and the pass hitter, so in this kind of gap here. Alright, so what we're going to be talking about now is the 5-1 sitting configuration. Okay, so what this means is that you've got one setter, okay, only one setter on the team, and they would be backcourt, setting from the backcourt, and that means everyone else is either a hitter or a passer, but they're not a setter. Okay, so variation of this you might see is a 4-2 backcourt. Okay, and this is probably what we're doing. Right, I just call this a 5-1 just to because usually your setter will play all the way around, but for most teams you'll have two setters, and when the setter gets to backcourt, like in position 1 here, then the other setter becomes the opposite, and they hit, and then they switch positions. When in 3 rotations after that. Okay, so that's the general, idea of what I'm going to be teaching here. Alright, so first rotation, the setter is in position 1. Okay, so the setter is serving, you can see here. Okay, it's pretty straightforward. Essentially in terms of movements, the middle here in position 6 is going to shuffle across and defend in that short region, as we talked about earlier. Pass hitter here will move deep and defend. Remember this sweeping region here? Okay, that's where they'll be defending. Once the setter serves, they run up and defend from this region here in position 1. Okay, same thing, pass hitter in position 2. Okay, the default position is over here. Okay, so once the serve goes, so the setter serves, the pass hitter switches with the opposite. Okay, and the opposite comes along here and blocks from this region here. The pass hitter moves along here, blocks from this region here. The middle doesn't have to move at all. Okay, so that's what that rotation looks like. So let's have a look at the video. Hopefully you'll be able to see. So we've got Aaron over here, he's about to serve, he's our setter. I'm in position 2, the other opposite, so Hamish has come on for opposite. He's not setting, Aaron's setting. I'm going to switch with Hamish. We've got Christian in the middle, who should be in 5, but I don't think we actually defend properly in this game, and Jesse should come to 6. Okay, so you see Aaron serves. What does Aaron do? He moves up. Okay, he defends first. That was his first job. Set it out. Okay, and reset. So they're playing defense again. Okay, that's the general gist of it anyway. So Aaron should be setting. That was a bad example. Okay, lose a point. They go into receiving. So in this rotation, you can see the pass hitter is in position 2. So the pass hitter is doing the job of passing. Okay, but the setter, so who are we looking at here? Setter here, we're concerned with the people to the left and the right. One rotation in front and one rotation behind. Okay, so you see the setter just served. The pass hitter is still front court. So these 3 are a front court row. Front court, and the back court's here. So 2, 3, and 4 are front court. Okay, so the setter has to be in between the pass hitter in position 2 and the middle in position 6. Okay, do we see that? Okay, the setter has to be behind the pass hitter. Okay, so you see that the setter is all good, and they are in. The setter is in between. Okay, so you count middle, middle and six, middle and six. Then it goes setter. Okay, still backcourt. That's fine. Setter. Then you count pass hitters here. There. Okay, so that's all good. Oops. So that's in rotation. Everything else is fine. So then you go middle. Middle here is there. Middle is in between the opposite and the pass hitter. That's all good. And it's pretty much self-explanatory the rest of the way around. Okay, so let's see if I can get a clip of what this looks like. Okay, so you can see here, the pass hitter is here, has to be in front of the setter because the setter's backcourt, but Aaron's job is to come around and set from the front court. So he's a setter. That means hitter here, Hamish is a hitter here. Okay, so you see his serve goes, pass goes up, goes back over. My next job is to defend. Okay, we get the point. So you can see that's generally how it works. Aaron defends in the backcourt. He runs to the front court to set. So that's his job. Okay, so you see it's my turn to serve. My next rotation. Okay, pass hitter is serving. And this is pretty straightforward. So remember, rotations for the server are pretty much negligible. So once a server can serve from anywhere along this line. Okay, so when we're receiving, if we're looking at the pass hitter here, the pass hitter has to be to the right of the setter and to the left of the middle up here. Okay, but in this case it doesn't really matter. And once the pass hitter serves, they'll go defend in 6. Okay, the only other thing is at the opposite, because the opposite here, the default position is over here, so the opposite will run over here. The reason why the opposite has to start to the left of the middle here is when we look at our diagram. Okay, the opposite has to be in between the middle and 2, so the middle here, and in between the pass hitter here. Okay, if the opposite was on the other side here, then that would be wrong. Okay, and then they'd be out of rotation. Bad. So the opposite has to start always to the left of the middle. You see the opposite to the left of the middle. Okay, the pass hitter here has to be to the left of the opposite. Pass hitter to the left of the opposite. Okay, that's how you just check your rotation. How can we triple check that we're all good? So we just see the setter is in position 6. So you go 6 and 3. Okay, that's good. The middle's in 2. Opposite in 5. That's good. So you just count 5, 1, 2, third position. Okay, then they're opposite each other, so that's fine. Okay, that's just another check. And then the pass hitter and the pass hitter. This would be in 1. This pass hitter is in the front left. It's essentially back right, front left. Okay, this is back middle, right? The setter's in back middle. Opposite's front middle. When the middle here is back left, the end of the middle is front right. So that's just how you check. Alright, so it's my turn to go serve. I think I missed my serve. Oops, okay. Maybe I want to watch that. Receiving. Okay, what happens here? So, this is a confusing one that I was talking about earlier. Same thing. Okay, so we're really only concerned with the setter and where the setter's standing. Okay, setter here, position 6. So this setter here is backcourt. And we want to make sure that the setter is in between the pass hitter and 1 and the middle and 5. Okay, so you can see they need to be in between there. And he is. Okay, because if you see the line, it's to the left of the pass hitter, to the right of the middle. Okay, so that's all we really care about. And we talked about this one earlier, so this shouldn't be, I guess, too difficult. Should be fairly familiar with you now. And what's it going to look like is we're going to receive the serve. See what's going to come. Once the pass goes, the middle shuffles over, defends in 5. This pass hitter will transition out to hit, because remember, this is our front, oops, not there. Our front court, it's position 2, 3, and 4. So this is our front court here. Okay, so it's rotated 1. Okay, and so you see this pass hitter here is in the front court. So the pass hitter will run around and hit. The middle shuffles over and defends from that region here. Pass hitter comes back. Once they've serves gone to defend in this back zone here. Okay, and then once the setter has set it, then he's going to come back and defend. Okay, so if you just look at what it looks like again, remember our defensive position: pass hitters, deep, middle, setter, pass hitter, middle, up. Okay, and that's what we usually look like. So you can see the difference between serve, receive, and defense. Okay, there is a big difference. Okay, so you can see here, this is serve, receive, so receiving, and this is defense. Okay, that's defense. This is our default position when we're defending the ball. Because remember that rotations only count before the serve. So that's what we're looking at. Once the serve goes, you can read wherever you want. All right. I'll just quickly run through the rest. It's not too bad. Rotation 3, serving. All right. So what's wrong with this? So the only other thing is that setter goes here to defend. The middle runs around, defends there. Same thing. Opposite is good. Pass hitter is already in the right position. And this middle should switch with the pass hitter. So the pass hitter just runs around. Middle comes here, blocks from this position here. Pass hitter's out here. Okay, so that's how it looks. When we're serving, it's usually pretty easy to figure out where you're going. All right, you just got to remember where your default position is. Okay, and if you're not there, then you've got to think, how am I going to get there? So if I'm the pass hitter, what I'd be thinking is, okay, I have to be in position 3 here. Otherwise, I'll be out of rotation. I have to be in between the opposite and the middle. Opposite and the middle. Okay, I'm in rotation, but this is not my default position. I want to get around here. So how am I going to do that? Once the serve goes, I'm just going to run around the middle, get there. Okay, and that's what you should be thinking most of the time. Rotation 3, receiving. Okay, once again, you can see this setter, because we're concerned with the setter most of all, has to be in between the pass hitter and 6, in the middle and 4. Okay, so where's our front court? This is our front court still. Okay, this means the setter is back court. And what does the setter have to do? The setter's first job is to run and get to this position here. But they have to still be in rotation before the serve goes. Okay, so the setter, is it in between the middle and the pass hitter? Yeah, I think so. Okay, so the rule is that the people we're not concerned with are the pass hitter in 1 and the pass hitter in 3, okay? So remember, these people, we don't care about them at all. Okay, so on the diagram, we don't care about this position and this position. Okay, and we need to make sure that the setter here is behind the middle here. Okay, so because this middle is front court, the setter is back court here. So the back court has to be behind the front court. Do we see that? The setter here is behind the middle here. Okay, so that's good. All right, is the setter in between the middle and 4 and the pass hitter in 6? So we see the pass hitter in 6 is here. The middle is here. Okay, yep, and you see the setter is in between. Okay, remember, front court and back court, it doesn't really matter if the setter's to the left or the right, if the middle's in front court. This middle's front court, the setter is back court. Okay, so the setter, even though the setter is to the left of the middle, that doesn't matter. Okay, this only applies when they're both in the front court and both in the back court. All right, it's a little bit confusing, but just trust me, this is what we do. Okay, once the serve goes, the setter runs over there. Just quickly, just touch up on what else happens. So we see this pass hitter, setter goes there, middle runs around there, opposite comes back and then hits there. Okay, this pass hitter comes back to defend. This pass hitter runs around to transition, and this middle comes and defends over here. Okay, once the setter is set from here, the setter will run back and defend from this position. Okay, that's exactly what we've been talking about. It's all the default positions. All right, just once again, just remember what the default positions are. Pass hitter needs to get there, middle needs to get there, op needs to get there. Okay, and we see the pass hitter back court defends in 6, middle goes to 5, and the setter goes to 1. All right, same as last slide. Well, was that really 3 rotations? Yeah, serve, receive, so setter in 1. You see the setter is in 1 here. Receiving, setter's in 1. Okay, next the setter goes to position 6 here, they're serving. Okay, the setter really is in this position here, right? But they're allowed to stand over here because they're still in rotation. Remember how the pass hitter doesn't matter where they stand when they're serving, it's only when they're receiving. Okay, we see the setter here is still in between the middle and the pass hitter. Same thing, setter is in between the middle and the pass hitter before the serve. That's what we want. And we see the setter in position 5 here. Okay, so that's all good, right? Okay, so we only have to learn 3 rotations. Why is this? I'll take a few seconds to think. So what does it look like when the setter here rotates 1 again? Okay, instead of being in 5, the setter is going to be in position 4, right? And what happens when the back court gets to front court, especially as a setter? What happens when the opposite here goes back to serve? Is the opposite still opposite because of the back court? Remember how I was talking about the fact that we are playing a 5-1 system. Okay, alright, this may be a bit confusing, but this actually does apply to a 4-2. More so, sorry. So I meant to say that 4-2 because we have 2 setters. Okay, if we were playing a 5-1, we would have to learn 6 rotations, which is double. Okay, but for a 4-2, so the answer is that the setter switches. Okay, so when the opposite gets to backcourt, then the setter becomes the opposite. Okay, so you see the opposite here. So the opposite comes to backcourt. Okay, the opposite actually becomes the setter, and the setter that goes to front court here. Okay, once the setter rotates, they actually become the opposite. Okay, so it's essentially the same thing. And so we see the setter is in position 1 here, and it's just the same rotation here. Setter in position 1. Okay, so if we were doing a 4-2, then we'd only have to learn 3 rotations. Okay, but if we're doing a 5-1, we don't. Okay, and a 5-1 looks like the setter actually being at the front court. Right, so the setter's here, and they'll set from the front court. That means you've only got 2 hitting options, which is a middle and a pass hitter. On the side, the setter runs around. So I'll go through it. Okay, so we see the setter in position 4. Right here, what's going to happen is they're going to switch. Pass hitter and the setter are going to switch. Opposite comes, defends in 1, middle goes to 6. Okay, that's all fine. Now you can just double check that we're all in positions. So the pass hitter is in 5, count 3, 6, 1, 2. The pass hitters are opposite each other, like that. You see the middles are opposite each other, 6 and 3. So if you're middle here, you just count 3 positions, 1, 2, 3, same thing. Okay, so that's just how you check, even though graphically it doesn't look like that. Okay, you should be able to draw lines in between them. So the middles, pass hitters, opposite setter, middles, opposites, pass hitters. Okay, it's the same thing, and they are in rotation because we're trying to satisfy this thing over here. Alright, receiving, once again, the setter in position 4 has to be in between the pass hitter and 5, in the middle and 6, right? Don't care about these guys, so we don't care about this guy, don't care about this guy. Is this setter between them? Okay, we're still looking at the setter here. Alright, the setter is to the left of the middle. Setter has to be to the left of the middle. Okay, that's good. And the setter has to be to the right of the pass hitter in position 5 right here. And yes, we see that. Position 5 right here. Okay, that's all good. So this is in rotation. The setter would just run here, set from here. Okay, all good. Alright, the setter's in 3. Same again, so this isn't really hard. Pass hitter is serving. Pass hitter comes, defends here. Setter just moves around. Alright, pretty straightforward. When we're receiving, okay, this one thing I haven't mentioned is that the opposite usually is not part of the passing line. So you can see the passing line is there. Usually they stand pretty much next to each other, but often we do have the pass hitter come up short a little bit, so make it easy for them to transition around. Okay, but otherwise this is pretty straightforward. Whereas the setter is legit only in that position. So he doesn't have to move at all. Okay, the middle runs around, hits there. Pass hit, as I said, transitions. This middle here, comes, defends here. Opposite comes around, pass hit comes back. Goes deep. Okay, I've drawn this a million times already. It's a really wide court. Same thing. Pass hitter, middle, setter, pass hitter, middle, setter. Or op. Right, that's our defense. Okay, rotation 6, last one. So we're serving. Setter is in position 2. Okay, so the middle is serving. Same thing, pass hitter just comes around. Opposite comes across, middle comes around here. The setter does not have to move. They're already in rotation. And this is probably one of the easiest ones as well. Okay, it's a bit trippy, especially if you're in middle here. Like, oh, why do you have to be in the corner? Yeah, because you were looking the middle. Okay, I actually forgot to change this. 1, 2, 3, 4. So the middle should be in 3, 4. That's 5. Whoops. So this middle here has to be in between the opposite here and the pass hitter here. Okay, so the middle has to be to the left of the pass hitter, to the right of the opposite. Or to the right of the setter. Okay, and we see that. So the middle is to the left of the pass hitter, and the setter is to the right. So that's all good. Okay, so the key thing for the middle here is just to remember, so that line there, you're just going to make sure you're to the left of it. Okay, so if the middle started here, you'd be out of rotation. So hopefully that explains things a little bit better. Yeah, and it's quite confusing at the start, and it's really weird, especially because we're on paper, looking just at these diagrams here. Right, in real life, it's going to look very different. This will look very different on court. Okay, why? It's because you're not circles. You don't look like this. You actually look like a person. Smiley, I hope. I love. Hopefully not. Okay, that's it. Cool. Thank you.